The neighborhood watch volunteer who shot an unarmed teenager to death in Sanford, Florida, has just been charged with murder. The special prosecutor in the case has charged 28-year-old George Zimmerman with second-degree murder in the death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin.
And when I think about this boy, I think about my own kids.
George Zimmerman arrived at Seminole County Jail late last night, charged with murdering Trayvon Martin. Later today, Zimmerman will be arraigned in court. Zimmerman, a neighborhood watchman, claims self-defense that he shot Trayvon Martin after the teenager attacked him.
Zimmerman says he acted in self-defense. The shooting on February the 26th set off a debate all around the country about race and the right of self-defense.
But my main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
Angry protesters very upset over the Trayvon Martin verdict are on the streets of Los Angeles right now. Now they're throwing something at cars, even jumping on some vehicles.
Some groups damaged property and even attacked bystanders, including 2 individuals kicked and punched. Along Crenshaw, windows were smashed, trash cans set ablaze.
Video recorded on the second night of the Ferguson riots shows Michael Brown's stepdad calling for rioters to continue the destruction of their city.
You are unlawfully assembled. You need to disperse immediately or you will be subject to arrest. Do it now.
Tear gas has been thrown, water bottles we witnessed being thrown at police.
Just to give you context, I don't want you to give you the sense that the entire city of Ferguson, that there's chaos, lots of areas are calm, people are inside.
We saw these buildings catch on fire. This was a beauty supply store, and we watched it just burn to the ground.
The auto zone is on fire. This is the 3rd building within 2 blocks, and it is, destroyed. The building is basically collapsed. You can hear the explosions going on inside there from whatever is inside, whether it's...
What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy!
Michael would be smiling, that big gentle smile that he always gives whenever he greeted you. Because Michael was a big guy, but he was a kind, gentle soul. And before he left this earth, the day that he was killed, he was out spreading the word of Jesus Christ. This moment, Michael also stated to the family that one day the world would know his name. He did not know how his name would be remembered, but we're here today remembering the name of Michael Brown.
There is a second aspect to this, which is how does the Ferguson Police Department and the government of Ferguson, the municipality, treat its African-American citizens.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
A judge has acquitted a Baltimore police officer on all charges in the death of Freddie Gray. Ryan Rice was acquitted Monday after a bench trial by Baltimore Circuit Court Judge Barry Williams.
That have been lit on fire in the intersection. Bottles are being thrown at them.
This is one of our darkest days as a city.
There's a liquor store that was just lit on fire across the corner from us. There's a baby coming out from the building next door. They're evacuating people.
This is just another example of the sad state of this city at this point. Stay the hell home.
According to a prosecutor on Wednesday, an officer who fatally shot Keith Lamont Scott back in September in Charlotte, North Carolina, will not be charged in his death. Scott's shooting prompted days of violent protests, leading North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory to declare a state of emergency. Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officer Brentley Vinson, who like Scott is black, shot the 43-year-old in a parking lot as officers were serving an arrest warrant for another person. Vinson has claimed that he saw Scott holding a gun and fired at him out of concern for public safety. While Scott's family maintains he wasn't holding the gun, police evidence has indicated otherwise.
Shot fired.
Cars, a gas station, an auto parts store, and a bank. 6 businesses in all torched. The outrage began after police shot and killed an armed man after a traffic stop.
Smith was shot fleeing a traffic stop when police say he turned toward the officer with a gun in his hand. The officer's body camera capturing the deadly encounter. The weekend of violence began on Saturday with demonstrators torching several businesses, overturning cars and throwing rocks at police. Protests and violence erupting again in Milwaukee. Demonstrators throwing objects.
Oh, it looks like the gas tank just popped.
And setting cars on fire.
Oh my goodness, poor white people, please, oh my, stop.
This was a white lash.
Oh my nigga! That's white! Hit me on being. Is that white? It's the white race! They white, get their ass! Hey, they beating up every white person! They jumping every white person! Man, no white person come down Sherman! He white! Beat this shit! Bitch!
Hell no! To the no, no, no! Hell to the no! Hell to the no! To the no, no, no! Hell no, no! To the no, no! Hell to the no, no! To the no, 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 no! Hell to the no, no! To the no, no!
Leave Benny alone!
You're the one who put the present Democratic administration in Washington, D.C. The whites were evenly divided. It was the fact that you threw 80% of your votes behind the Democrats that put the Democrats in the White House.
When you're white, you don't know what it's like to be living in a ghetto. You don't know what it's like to be poor.
Warren says her great-great-great-grandmother is Cherokee, but genealogists have yet to confirm that.
My papa had high cheekbones, like all of the Indians did. Like all of the Indians did.
It's been 2 years since Rachel Dolezal rose to infamy as the white woman pretending to be black, but the former NAACP leader is now telling The Guardian that she's been unable to monetize her fame and is now broke, unemployed, and living off food stamps.
I'm a white woman, I don't get it. And my job is to shut other white people down when they want to interrupt. My job is to make sure that they get that they have privilege.
By the time I'm in 9th grade, I am fully and completely black.
Very black.
And I mean, to the point of most of my friends from high school will tell you, like, I'm the blackest guy they know.
Shaun King, he is a leading voice for the Black Lives Matter movement. A family member tells CNN that both King's parents are white.
I mean, I've watched this guy sit here and call people white supremacists and use the term white privilege and throw around these terms. So yeah, if you're going to kind of throw around those terms and be out in someone's face as the judge and jury of blackness or whiteness, and this comes up and there are records showing that your dad is white, yeah, it does become an issue.
You're now a member of the white race. You're on our team. You're wearing our uniform. Now you're at the end of the bench. You may not get in the game, but you're on our team, you see. So then they start putting white folks, now called, on the slave patrols, right? Didn't really give them any land or any real power except the power to control people of color, which is why folks of color say, and they are right, that modern policing traces to the system of slave patrols and slavery, and we have to be clear on that because that's the history.
Jesus has been used to justify enslavement, conquest, colonialism, the genocide of indigenous peoples. There are literally millions of human beings whose lives have been snuffed out by people who conquered under the banner of a white god.
Because if you know the history of the whole concept of whiteness, if you know the history of the whole concept of the white race, where it came from and for what reason, you know that it was a trick, and it's worked brilliantly.
So whiteness was created to divide and conquer, to create the notion that even though you might not have much, at least you're not black, at least you're not indigenous, at least you're not Mexican, at least you're not Chinese, at least you have, as W.E.B. Du Bois said, the psychological wage of whiteness. And it's a trick that was played.
Slavery happened long ago, but you still want to use that as an excuse. Well, then be consistent. You should still hold the Democrats responsible for the KKK, Jim Crow, Dred Scott, revocation of civil rights, denial of 40 acres and a mule, segregation, anti-miscegenation, and eugenics. You know that was the Democrat Party. That's why you liberals try to use some lame excuse that the party switched sides, which is a lie anyway. White people write Obama scripts all the time, though, and y'all don't seem too mad about him saying all the things that those white liberals want him to say. The Democrat agenda is still the same, to make us subjects of the state. But now they do this under the sugar-coated guise of fairness.
Like all of the Indians did.
I'm a white woman. I don't get it.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
I'm the blackest guy they know.
You know, the history of the whole concept of the white race, where it came from and for what reason.
I am fully and completely black.
All other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and got it out of the way, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. You put them first and they put you last. Because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race. I know you don't like me saying that, but I'm not the kind of person who come here to say what you like. I'm going to tell you the truth whether you like it or not.